Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. Yeah, like I mentioned to you earlier, Gordon recommended I speak with you. I'm always interested in the bodybuilding space. It just fascinates me for whatever reason. You guys' mental game is super strong, and I saw you were opposing coach, so I thought I'd reach out. I also want to ask you too about, are you just in the posing space, or do you actually coach bodybuilders and the nutrition side of it as well?
So I used to. It was mainly like just, personal training, take on a person here and there and whatnot. Did I want to do prep coaching? Yeah, but I tended to lean more towards being a posing coach just because I'm a lot better at it.
Yeah.
And normally it's one of those things where, again, it's, I just had a post about this, but like experience, I put in a lot of time learning how to, look at every little detail and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where like, if you are a trainer or something like that, like you're constantly learning, but a lot of times it takes a long time to get like a vast knowledge.
Right.
And I feel like I've only been doing this for like 4 years, but the amount of hours that I put in trying to perfect it, I couldn't even tell you. So yeah, I started out doing that. And then about 3 years ago, 2.5 or so, I started introducing posing coaching, and then now I'm full-time with this.
Gotcha. Awesome. Out of curiosity, how did you even get into bodybuilding to begin with?
So I know some people kind of have the same like story and whatnot, but like when I was younger, all throughout elementary, middle, high school, I was bullied. I was a little bit overweight. I actually did wrestling my freshman year. Well, no, 8th grade year all the way through senior year.
Okay.
I have this one picture that I always use. It was my freshman year of high school. I was tagged at, I think it was 170 pounds, but I was like 27% body fat.
Okay.
So a little bit more towards obese.
Yeah.
And like, I always say like, I had won the match, but now that I look at it, like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't look good. Felt I could look better. Ended up going into the military. And then, of course, began to fall more and more in love with it. 2016, I did my first competition. Funny enough, one of the girls that I graduated with, her brother was my first coach.
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, if you want to do it at this time, then we'll do it at this time. And, we ended up taking the proper time to, like he was the first one who taught me the poses. And for some reason, I just grasped onto it really well. And here we are.
That's amazing. So yeah, I haven't interviewed very many bodybuilders and asked them about their past, but, I was talking with Sabrina McMullen, Beefcake Brina on TikTok, and you may not be familiar with her. She mentioned that as a part of her past as well. Is that a commonality throughout bodybuilding?
I would say so. I don't know if you've ever heard the term like can't remember it, but it's along the lines of like a breakup will turn a man into a bodybuilder or something like that. Well, mine was more so like childhood bullying, just a bunch of shit. And I'm like, I want to find a way to have an outlet. I love lifting. Granted, there are some days where it's like, ugh, okay.
Oh, of course.
But I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. But for me, like, I would say it's very common within the realm of bodybuilding, whatever the person, whatever, reached out to them on why they like it.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I like it because the discipline of it. There's no other sport like it. And there are sports to show off your hard work, but not like bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're either in contest shape or you're not.
Yep.
You're dialed in or you're not. Look like you're 20 weeks out or you're spot on. Right.
Yeah.
So it's so biased, and it's so I can't think of the word. Subjective.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very subjective. So I mean, you could come in on that day and the next show the next week, the next weekend, I mean, you could come in dead last, right?
Yeah.
It's about who shows up that day. It's not about how they look on Instagram or anything like that. So
right. On the oh shoot, I had a follow up to that as far as past stories and that kind of thing. So so that was some of the motivation for training, but when you were starting to how many shows have you been a part of? How many do you do per year? I'll just start with that.
So my first show, I only did one in 2016, and then in 2018 I competed in 3. My second show that year, I won the short open, lost in the overall. So that's about the extent to like my highest winning was I won my open class, but I lost in the overall.
Okay.
And honestly, I haven't competed since 2018, but being natural, it's a lot harder to put on muscle mass. So I was like, and I just posted something where it was like my first year competing to like a check-in a few days ago, and it's like,
yeah,
right. So I'm not competing till the end of next year. Okay. Right. So end of 2022, like around like closest August, but normally pushing for like probably September to December area.
Okay, gotcha. How much of a temptation is that anyway to go on roids?
There's always like, oh, I wonder what this would do. But it's like, I can guarantee you everybody has that thought. Yep. If you want to go through with it, I won't look at you any other way. Like, you're still putting in the same amount of work,
right?
But it's to each their own, and
sure.
It's whatever floats your boat.
I hear you. On the posing side, so why did you decide to specialize in posing, and what does it take to become a posing coach as opposed to a bodybuilding coach specifically?
Like a prep coach? So yeah. The reason why so the first question was, why did I get into being just a posing coach?
Yep.
Okay. So the reason why I primarily got into being a posing coach, for me, it goes back to like when I was younger. I drew a lot. I played guitar. I self-taught myself. I would say I was decent. I don't play or draw anymore, but like I always had this creative outlet.
Yeah.
And like I was one who I actually wanted to, potentially do some sort of dance. Just never got into it because of like what other people thought. And right now I could care less. But yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I get you.
just bleep that out. Put a.
You're fine.
No, but yeah. So like, I've always had this creative outlet of wanting to do this or do that or learn this, learn that. And for me, it wasn't until the second time I competed, my second time around in 2018, I was like, okay, I don't want to go up on stage. I don't want to just hit a few poses and, like, come on, clap. No, like you should be able to go out there and have people clap because your posing is so good.
Right.
Right. Is everybody going to get to that level? No, but it's the effort, right? To me, it's like, if you can go from not knowing what the fuck you're doing to getting to that next level and next level and next level, we all want to pose like Leah Labrada or Terrence Ruffin, but it takes time.
Yeah.
Just like anything. And then what was the second question?
Oh shoot. I can't remember now. So you were getting into posing. You chose that because of your background there, and then, oh man, I'm not going to remember the second part of that question now. I'm sorry, I should have written that down. That's okay. What are some of what are some of your favorite aspects of coaching? Who have you had the opportunity of coaching so far? Have you had any IFBB pros coming to you, or are you mainly in the NFC space?
No, so I would say, so the majority of people that I do work with are, I would say, like, your beginners, people who have done a few shows, just wanting to get better. I've worked with a few IFBB pros. One, his name was Jordan Tripp, and then I've also worked with Jared Feather. Just helped him with the routine and whatnot.
Nice.
And just cleaned up a few things. I've had a few guys go pro in NPC, and then also in the Natty federations too. So worked with a wide variety of people, from your beginner all the way up to your advanced. I've worked with people internationally. Furthest one away was probably Hong Kong. Worked with people in Central America, I have a few in Canada, one in Ireland. Yeah, Ireland. So I'm all over.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very nice. And is this, I'm assuming this is a whole business to it, but do you have a full-time and this is what you're doing and trying to grow to replace, or is this all?
This is full-time.
Okay.
I got a few projects. One I want to get done before the end of the year, and kind of have a few maybe leading into 2022. But yeah, I got big plans to try and, like, help out as much people as possible. So because it's one thing that's very underlooked in our sport. Like,
that's the first time I've heard about that.
Yeah. So for some reason, like, there's posing coaches, there's good ones. I actually just talked about it on my story today, but like, there's a lot of good posing coaches and there's a lot of bad posing coaches, right? Same with any type of coach, but it's dependent on, like, you have some individuals who might actually be good at posing themselves, but they don't know how to teach, right? And that's the hardest aspect to grasp, in my opinion. Again, like, I just so happen to be good at teaching people how to pose. I'm still learning. I'm constantly watching stuff. I'm constantly learning how to get better as a coach, just like any other coach would be.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that you've had the chance to meet, I kind of ask this question of a few people from time to time, but anybody in the bodybuilding space, you've gone to a competition and been like, oh my gosh, I met, I don't know, Ronnie Coleman, for example.
I wish. Yeah, that's like,
I know, right? Oh my goodness.
No, I would say the only one that I've really had the chance to meet. Well, I always wanted to meet Jared. I've followed him for a few years, and he's very straightforward. I ended up getting a workout with him and doing some posing after. This was, I want to say, like 1 or 2 months ago, but then we ended up, this was at Iron Religion Gym here in Florida.
Okay.
But probably my favorite one was I actually got to meet Terrence Ruffin.
Nice.
And funny enough, so I'm wearing this, and I had tagged him in it, and he had liked it. I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy with the Posey Matter shirt.
Nice.
He's like, oh yeah, no, I remember you. So yeah, this is kind of my mantra.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's terrific. Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of posing coaches, and I didn't even know that. I thought it was just a bodybuilding coach that taught all aspects, but I would assume for a bodybuilder, that's probably one of the most important things in competition, because you can have all the muscle development size you want, but if you can't show it off, it's not going to get you anything on a podium.
Right. You would think, yeah. Right. So the thing that I like is, I'm starting to see more and more posing seminars, which is also one of my goals for in the future.
Yeah.
I'm actually, side note, I'm actually going to be helping, or I'm sponsoring one of my old coaches shows,
Okay.
the OCB Natural Biking in Minnesota.
Awesome.
And I'm also sponsoring the posing seminar.
Sweet.
There. But yeah, so I mean, you would think people would, you know, hey, posing is pretty important, right? But like, I'm starting to see more and more posing seminars, so that's a good sign. And I'm starting to see more and more people grasp onto the fact that posing is actually important. That, you know, you can come in with the best physique. I've seen plenty of guys lose because their posing was shit. I mean, like you said, I mean, you can come in your best, but if you can't present it well, you might as well walk off the stage. You might not have the best confidence either. You might go up there and you're like, I mean, you could look the best up on stage, but you are looking off to your left and right, and you're trying to figure out, you know, how to hit the pose because you didn't practice, because you just thought you could walk up there and be like, you know, like, that's not how it works. Like, you wouldn't skydive by yourself without learning how to skydive first.
Right.
It's just like plummet.
I skydove.
Yeah. Except now I'm dead.
Yes, sir. So what were you doing before, or has this always been your full time? What were you doing before the bodybuilding and posing?
So I actually did not go full time until February of this year. So
oh,
February
no way.
20. Yep, a few days before we moved down here. So I'm originally from Wisconsin.
Oh, nice.
I wanted something new. I wanted to get my foot in the door, per se. I wanted to, you know, kind of grow. And I felt that moving to, you know, we moved to Florida. Yes, like, there's a lot of going on right now because like, everybody's comparing Florida to this. You know, besides that, we're not going to get into that. But we decided to move down to Florida because for me, it's a bodybuilding hub.
Yeah.
But I was actually a full-time, excuse me. I was a full-time student at University of Wisconsin River Falls. I was going for exercise sports science.
Nice.
And so I have a 4-year degree in that. And then they had us take the ACSM EPC. So I'm a certified exercise physiologist. But no. But like, I was full-time there. And, you know, I was working, you know, like, last place I worked was GNC, but I ended up being the highest paid there because I actually knew what I was talking about for the most part.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I had the college degree, or I was, you know, damn near in my I was in my senior year, but like, I worked as a bouncer. I worked sales. I've worked at Sears.
Wow.
Like, yeah, doing stuff that, like, I never told myself I would work in fast food. I was like, nope. Like, I don't want somebody yelling at me just because I fucked up their order.
Amen to that.
Oh God. Anyways, so yeah, I went from, you know, being full-time with school, graduated, and then just worked full-time and doing my business. Like, basically up until we moved. And then, like, a few days beforehand, I'm like, glad to announce.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, it's been a hell of a ride up until now. Like, definitely, you know, I mean, just for example, like, my first year and this is just in sales, so not after everything else, but just in sales, my first year, I only made 1,700.
Wow. For
the entire year.
Bodybuilding. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, for coaching.
Oof.
My last year, I made a little bit over 10,000.
Okay.
And even with 4 more months left in the year, 4, well, 3.5. But even with 3.5 more months, like, I'm already over 30K.
Nice.
So yeah, so I'm slowly but surely getting up there.
Gotcha. I'm curious because we own our own business buying and selling used fitness equipment. So is most of that being driven by you just networking, or is there is the social component doing most of that driving for you?
So I noticed once I started, like I still share stuff, about me, like updates and whatnot, working out. But a majority of the stuff that I, try to put out there is educational. Of course the algorithm on like Instagram changed. So it's, shares and, or reshares and saves. So like you put something educational, somebody's going to want to remember it. So, right. If I put out a posing routine, people are going to look at it and they're going to be like, okay, I want to try to do this. And I've had people literally tell me, they're like, yeah, I look at your posing routines all the time and try to emulate it. I'm like, awesome.
Nice.
Right. So, and that makes me feel good because
it
shows that, my work is getting out there. I did. So I like, and another thing, as far as like networking and, trying to do a lot of like, social media stuff, like I'm now starting to do, like online posing seminars. In a sense.
Cool.
Like, so I'll do that like every few weeks. So I did one last week. I probably won't do one until next week. So every 2 weeks I'll do it. But basically, like I'll bring people on, we'll go over a few poses that they want to do and whatnot. Like last week I had 2 guys from Greece.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
You're getting international attention. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And, it's just like, my goal is to be able to, have people from multiple different countries. Of course, do I want to work with a lot of different IFBB pros? Yeah. But, some of them can be understanding. For me, it's a big part about like ego. You have to be able to drop your ego and get that help.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things I tell all my clients, like my goal is to get you from an amateur to a professional mindset. Right? Because we have pros in our sport who are still stuck in that amateur mindset.
Right.
They might look good, but you can't look like you're hot shit if you don't know how to look correctly.
Yes.
Right? Present correctly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and trust me, that can knock you down, placings like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I apologize. I've got a screaming child in the background, so I'm going to calm him down for just 1 minute. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
No worries. Hey,
he was not happy.
Yeah, kids, you got to deal with it. I just got an annoying cat, so.
That is enough sometimes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No joke. On his tag, it says, "I'm a jerk, but still loved."
That is the tagline for cats, though, is it not?
Yeah. So we wanted to put asshole, but it wouldn't fit on there.
Oh my gosh. That's perfect. Nice. So so you've got plans to do, seminars and conferences and that kind of thing and grow the business going forward. And I am curious. I mean, talk more about the business side. Like what's been most effective for you? I'm always curious as a business owner myself, like, what kind of things, particularly within bodybuilding, are most effective for reaching out to people? I know you said the posing and the education piece, but I've noticed, some of the stuff that gets the biggest hits is the crazy, kind of clickbaity stuff. And I know you're trying to be educational, not go there, but have you noticed any differences in like the type of content you put out, just hitting crazy numbers for some reason?
Yeah. So it'll kind of depend. So like there's educational posts that I've done that have gotten like a lot of saves and stuff like that, and that's awesome. There's also, you know, ones like I did the other day where it was literally a comparison of me like a few years ago doing a most muscular to just a few nights ago, and all I literally said is I think it was, if you have a goal in mind, nothing can stop you, or I don't know, I can't remember what I said, or like anything is achievable, you know, something like that, something corny, and that got over like 150 likes.
Holy cow.
Versus like I'll do a show recap of my clients and that'll maybe get like 60, 70. Right, but it's like the one-liners and it's like, holy shit, look at you.
Wow.
Right, but you know, there's people like, there's certain routines where it's like, because I just, you know, I like posting shit, I like posting routines, and if you get an idea from it, if you grasp some of the transitions and want to use them, perfect. But like I find that some of them are hit or miss, some of them like have done really good, and you know, there was one of course Terrence had reshared it, so that might be why. Yeah. But that one had like over 60 saves,
Wow.
almost 200 likes and whatnot,
Wow.
shit ton of reshares.
Awesome.
So, you know, it's amazing what things can happen when people start to notice, but it's like, you know, it was awesome getting to meet him too.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I know nothing about posing. So if you're trying to, what I'm thinking when you say posing is, oh, you know, you hit different moves. There's only so much you can do to increase the size of, say, a bicep or a chest or a pec or whatever it is. So how are you continuing to educate yourself and grow in your understanding of how to pose? Because you said you're putting in tons and tons of work. So I'm curious about the continuous education process behind that.
Yeah, so I watch, I mean, during the week, and it depends on the week, but like normally I'm constantly looking at like, you know, let's say, you know, whether it's Tampa Pro, New York Pro, like I'm looking at, you know, all the big shows, some of the smaller shows that like my clients are competing in, national shows. Like I'll look at the pictures and whatnot. Granted, pictures don't really tell a lot, they only tell part of the story. But it's like oftentimes you can tell, like I'll notice these little variances and how the pressure distribution is in their feet, if they're leaning off to the side too much, or if like they're doing a side relax and they're leaning back too much. Because you see those small guys try to hit it like this,
yeah,
where their arm is down, and it's like, okay, you weigh about $130, don't be doing that. Right, but like, you know, it's, I'm constantly looking at ways where I can learn new cues. I'm constantly playing around with things. You know, for example, so like my side chest, I used to be a little bit taller and I used to stick my chest out. But I noticed if I sit down a little bit and push my hips back and then kind of have a slight forward lean and then rotate into it,
okay,
my hamstring pops more.
Oh.
Right? Because as soon as I start to stand up, my hamstring disappears. Right? So I'm always trying to maximize stuff. Granted, we don't want to get like a bodybuilding look if we're trying to do classic.
Right.
Because to each their own, each is going to have a different flow. So, you know, we're just trying to maximize what we can. And like me personally, I always say this, I can guide you in the right direction. I can teach you the cues that, you know, 9 times out of 10 work. But a lot of times it might be that slight internal cue where you're practicing on your own, hoping that, you know, you're practicing, because it's kind of important if you want to get better. But, you know, if you're practicing, sometimes you figure out this own internal cue and it clicks. A lot of times this will happen with like lat spreads. I find that the most common, or like relaxed poses. But it's like, okay, I was trying to play around with this and then I did this and it opened. I'm like, awesome. So we're going to do that.
Nice.
Right? Because like, you know, somebody may have a bag of tricks.
Yeah.
But they only have a certain amount of tricks that they can do.
Sure.
Right? So, I'm constantly looking at videos of other people's routine. Like if you're reading out of a book, right, you're learning information. So I've had some people say like, if you're copying this person's routine or you're copying some of the things that they commonly do, then you're a copycat or you're something. There's no copyright to it.
Mm-mm.
It's a transition. It's a pose. If it looks good and you can do it, awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Like I pull a lot of different transitions and whatnot from Terrence, Francis Benfato, Lee Labrada, a lot of the flow wise. I would say definitely from Francis Benfato, Ed Corney,
Okay.
and I really love Muhammad Makawe.
Okay.
Right. So
I haven't
I
heard.
don't know
Sorry,
if
I haven't heard of a couple of these guys. So I'm assuming they're
yeah.
big.
Well, big names, yes.
Yep.
A lot of them are back in like, I think Labrada was early '90s, but phenomenal poser. Ed Corney, if you ever watched Pumping Iron, I'm guessing, when they're that squat sequence,
Okay.
when him and Arnold are squatting and then he falls to the floor. So that's Ed Corney.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Actually in that video, Arnold said like, now that's posing, right? So like he was one of the greats. Same with Labrada, Francis Benfato. So I try to learn from the people who did it best, and I also try to learn from other posing coaches. Like I'm constantly taking in information. If I read a book and I take this piece of information and it benefits my clients, why not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have the humility to say that. A lot of people are like, this is my way. I learned this by no, like everything's always learned. Sometimes you might just pick it up faster.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I'm assuming you want to build on people who actually know what they're talking about too, and create even better ways to pose by taking what they did and improving on it. So it's not like you're just starting out in a vacuum. That wouldn't honestly make sense or bring the sport forward in any particular way if you started doing that.
It's like Legos. Put one on top of the other, right? And then you'll get this amazing Lego statue, whatever.
Well, and for posing, it seems to me from what you're saying that each person's physique and body type, that's why you can learn so much about posing, is because every body type is unique. So what works for, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to work for Lee Labrada, is not going to work for you, is not going to work for one of your clients. And you got to find different ways to make the muscles work and pop.
Well, and great example of that is people always have a dominant side. Very few people can, excuse me, very few people are ambidextrous in a way.
Yep.
Right. So yes, there are people who can hit it on both sides, but doesn't like, I can hit a side chest on both sides, but my good side is my left side. Right. So if I were to hit it on my right side, it looks like shit. Can't get my hamstring to pop, and it sucks. So, everybody has their good side. So, trying to assess that right off the bat, especially if it's like, okay, side chest of your choice. Awesome. Your left side looks better. Let's go with that.
Yep.
So it's always trying to figure out like, okay, which side are we going to have trouble with? Which side just do you feel most comfortable hitting? Yep. Right. It's the same with classic poses. It's like, there's some that might look good on you, and there's some that might look great on you. And then there's some that you absolutely cannot grasp the concept of hitting it. Sure. Right. Most common one is there's the recorder twisting double bicep.
Twisting double bicep.
So the Arnold.
Right? Oh, got it.
Like the Arnold Classic.
Yep.
That statue. So like so many people butcher that pose because they think they look good in it. Now you could just change a few things, adjust a few things, and then it's like boom. But there's some people who just don't hit that pose, right? There's plenty of other poses that look good if you hit them correctly, right? And that's with anything. If you do it correctly, 9 times out of 10, it might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Hey.
there's
Go ahead.
so I was going to say, like, there's multiple variations to a front double. There's, you know, a few, I wouldn't say, like, for me, I would say like there's maybe like 3 different variations for a side chest. So you got like the classic one where they're hitting this, kind of like a more crunched one, of course, not having the shoulder over, but let's say somebody's breathing out, and then you got kind of like the Arnold style where you go.
Yes.
Right? So like there's always variations. It's just trying to figure out which one works for you. And this is very common in like men's physique too, right? There's like 4 different front stances.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because I'm not. There's different classes in bodybuilding, and I know there's more for women than there are for men. But by the way, are you training both men and women within the posing?
Yeah, so we actually have a female coach who does
Awesome.
the bikini and wellness.
Okay.
She's also doing figure now. I currently cover all men's divisions and women's physique, and I am now doing figure.
Okay. So talk about how the posing will vary for each of those divisions in what general ways.
So of course, so if you look at like men's physique aside and only focusing on all the other ones that I talked about, like the quarter turns for all of them are gonna look damn near the same. It's just, you know, one, you're gonna have heels and you might, you know, have to stick your butt out a little bit more, just to kind of get the look, versus like, well, and feet would be closer. It's just different variations, like I said, of the same pose, but you're just trying to accomplish the same thing, right? You might have heels on, you might not, right? But you know, it's pretty much the same exact poses, except just a few little adjustments as far as like feet, hips, knees, you know. But as far as like overall poses, each one will vary based off of like the division. Like you got some natty federations for like men's physique, where you hit front side, back side, and then there's a few where they'll have you hit like bodybuilding poses in men's physique, where they'll be in like the men's physique stance, like the front stance, and then they'll have to hit like a front double, or an abs and thigh, or like then they transition to the quarter turn to the right, and then they have to hit like a side chest while in that side stance. Me personally, not a fan of it. That's just me. I don't believe that bodybuilding poses should be in men's physique. Most people have trouble learning the 4 poses themselves, 2 poses if you're NPC, because NPC, it's just front and back, right? So my big thing with men's physique is if you can nail down the poses, the transitions are going to be the things that test you. Because everybody knocks on men's physique because, you know, they're wearing shorts and whatnot, but if they actually do the transitions correctly and make it flow very nicely, it's not easy. Right?
So sorry, you're saying transition, is that from one position to another, like the turning to get to a position? Yeah,
so like if they say quarter turn to the right, you know, you could either just kind of like stomp your way to this way and then hit your quarter turn, you know, for like bodybuilding, or, you know, based off of like getting good footing and you know, making it seem like you're transitioning elegantly, if that makes sense, like making it look like you know how to pose versus just kind of like, hey, I'm hitting this, stomp, 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 I'm hitting this, and you know, going around. Like, we want to get away, me personally, where I feel like we're getting away from it, but there's still people who are very robotic, right? That's the issue. So we need to get more graceful, more elegant with our posing. Transitions as well. I mean, you watch some of the bikini girls, some of them rush through it and look very robotic. Some of them, it's like watching water flow through a stream, right? That's you know, that's what I think is like, you should be flowing like water. I can't remember what the Bruce Lee quote is, but become water, my friend.
Yes.
When you pour water into a teacup, it becomes a teacup. But like, you know, that's the same thing with like transitioning. Like, you need to make everything come around and you need to make it flow, right?
Yeah.
We can't just be having you like look like, I know I keep using a lot of Arnold references, but like you can't be looking like the fucking Terminator and just right. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, if it's your first show and you know you have a idea of how to hit the poses, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like once we get to the like the pro ranks or like national qualifiers,
Yeah.
like you need to know how to pose because that could be the, you know, decision maker between first and second.
Sure. Sure. What does training look like for you these days?
So right now I'm actually working with a strength coach. His name's Brian Miner.
Okay.
He's out of Colorado, but
Nice.
very well known as far as like the like training circuit, as far as like if you follow like 3DMJ or Renaissance Periodization or
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So he's done a lot of podcasts with them.
Nice.
So very smart at what he does. But he's actually doing my training right now. I'm doing push pull legs. So, you know, it generic, but it, you know, for me it works. I would say my volume's pretty, I wouldn't say it's low, but it's like, you know, it's not high, but it's not low.
Right.
So I know we just got off a deload, so things are going well. My food's up, which is always a plus.
That's great.
Getting stronger, still looking lean. Sitting at about like 209 right now.
Okay.
So yeah, everything's going good as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so training's going good.
Awesome. And then a question I had on those same lines. I know for bodybuilding, nutrition is everything going into a show, but training is, you know, a percentage of it. But by far, the nutrition piece I've come to understand is just gigantic.
Yeah.
What
like
for? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
For somebody who's natural as opposed to enhanced, they're still both training their balls off, and I get that. But is there can you lay off even slightly between those two, or is somebody like yourself having to work about 10 times harder, both on the nutrition and the training side, just because you've not got that you know, drug advantage?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say again, you know, whether you're enhanced or natural, both, you know, as long as you're putting in the work, you're going to reap the benefits of it.
Okay.
Now, do I feel that natural individuals have to put a little bit more work into it? I would say yes, over a longevity period.
Okay.
Right. Because unless you're, you know, like a genetic freak and you're 24 and you look like you are enhanced, but you're natural, like very far and in between. Right. So that's, you hit the jackpot on your genetics.
Yeah.
Right. Not all of us are like that.
Yep.
So, you know, the only thing with like being an enhanced athlete, if you're on that end, it's basically your recovery methods are greater. So therefore, if you recover better, you know, if you're sore as shit, you know, and you get horrible sleep, you horrible malnutrition, are you going to recover? No. If you're not getting the proper water intake, no.
Right.
Of course, like food, rest, everything that we do in order to recover properly, food is huge because, you know, it's, if we aren't getting the necessary foods to feed that or fuel that workout or fuel that recovery, then you're just going to be hitting a plateau over and over again. Right. So both sides of sport, nutrition is like key. Because you can train as hard as you want to, right? But if that side isn't dealt with and on point, then like I said, you're just going to be hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, I'm not like I don't have a master's or anything like that, but you know, I feel like I know a decent amount to say that. And I'm not going to like make any claims or anything, but it's common sense that we know, like, if you're going to work out that hard, you have to be able to refuel that, right? Because, you know, we have this nitrogen balance that we have, and if you aren't, you know, getting within that, you know, if you're not getting the proper amount of protein that you need to elicit protein synthesis, then you're basically, then that nitrogen balance just isn't there, right? So we need to be in an surplus in order to recover properly, right? So it's, again, that's about the extent that I'll go, but it's, like you said, nutrition is key.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then of course all the other recovery methods, but I would say it's majority a longevity period for naturals.
Okay.
As far as like putting the work in, because of course, I mean, within 8 months, you could probably put on an extra 5 to 10 pounds if you are on the enhanced side of the sport.
Oh yeah.
And that's just a guesstimate. I'm not like,
oh, it's more for some people, I know.
Well, yeah, also depends on how much you're using too.
Yeah, well,
like some, yeah, I mean, like my big thing is if you're gonna do it, the least amount possible.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid, and make sure you have a coach who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Blood work, everything.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, I want to have somebody on here that can speak to that at length, because it infuriates me seeing SARMs being legal and everything else not. And I'm sitting here going, SARMs is going to kill someone, like a significant, so it's going to kill some high profile somebody, and then it's going to get banned. But then you could open up all these other substances for research and to be legal. And you'd have people that actually knew what the heck they were talking about, because there'd be more tangible evidence. I know in Canada it's very different, and I think more of that is legal.
The UK, it's 100% legal. You just can't sell. That's where it's illegal.
Okay,
right? So
really,
it's completely legal in the UK.
Huh? So yeah. Wait, you can't. So it's legal, but you can't sell it. I don't understand. I won't ask questions.
You tell me, bro.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They must keep that on the down low then. That's fascinating to me. Yeah, because I feel
who sold you that candy?
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, like, who sold you that candy bar? Not telling.
Yeah, because I feel like if there wasn't the stigma around it, there would be so many more people talking about it. Even sure as shit that all these guys are on something, and it's becoming more. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but it's becoming more widely accepted to talk about it. But people are still scared as all heck.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always, I mean, within anything that you do, there's always pros and cons.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that you're doing everything right possible to, have the scale tipping more one way. Right. Because like there's so many people who are fucking stupid. They're taking way too much, enough to kill a horse.
Yeah.
Right. But it's always being smart about it, making sure, like I said, you are getting your blood checked. Even as a natural, like that shit's important, because like hormones are not something to fuck around with. Right. And a lot of unknowledgeable people in the sport, and I'm not saying like I'm, I'm not saying like I'm super smart and I know, like everything. No, it's common sense. Like if you are going to do all these weird things, have freaking bikini girls taking, multiple compounds.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how's their nutrition? How much do you have them eating? Did they take a good off season? How much cardio are they doing? Like there's so many factors, and people just think that it's like, okay, I'm going to have you do an hour and a half of cardio. You're going to eat 1,200 calories and yeah. Right. So that, there's bad people in the sport, and they give us all a bad name.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure. Well, I did want to ask you a little bit about your favorite. Are you a fan of cheat days or cheat meals, or is that a thing for you?
So I wouldn't. There's a big stigma around that. So normally, what I would consider that is a untracked meal.
Okay.
Right? Because you're cheating on your diet.
Yep.
But in reality, like there's a difference between like refeeds. Everything's calculated out. Like,
Yep.
hey, I'm having 200 or like 300 grams of carbs this day. On my refeed day, I'm having 400, right? Like that's calculated out. Now, if like, my coach tells me, hey, you're getting one untracked meal or one, I, again, really don't like the word cheat. But think of it as like an untracked meal because you're not tracking it. You're just going out, eating. Cool.
Yep.
And for me, it's basically like, so me and my wife can still have date night.
Yeah.
And I love that about my, that's important. Especially like if you are married, if you are in a relationship, just because I know for some couples it's taboo because of like what we do is not normal.
Right. Yep.
So having that one on track meal, I'm all for it. It's when people go way too overboard and they're stopping at like 3 different restaurants and going until they're bloated and they're sitting on the fucking toilet for 4 hours. Like, enjoy yourself, but don't get to the point of where you feel like you're gonna puke, right? So yeah, I would say like I'm all for it. I just in the past I wasn't really smart about it. Like there was one time I ate a full, large 5 meat stuffed crust cheese pizza from Papa Murphy's. Right? I downed that. No, it was family size. I downed that. Right? I downed that by myself. Right?
I love it.
I had acid reflux for a day.
I bet.
When you just you start to like have the like greases and shit come out and
yep.
Not fun. But yeah, I mean, as long as you're doing it properly and you're not like overeating so much, yeah, I'm all for it.
Awesome. On the flip side, from a just healthy eating perspective, do you have any suggestions or any favorite go-tos for like low calorie dense foods?
Fruit and veggies.
Okay. Yeah.
Like really like when like calories get low, right? And it's dependent on the person because I know people who are like 2 weeks out and they're still at 300 grams of carbs. And I'm like, my mindset is like, okay, I want your metabolism, but they might feel just like famished, right? Because everybody's metabolism is different.
Right.
But I guess when calories do get low, or like carbs are very low, like we want volume. We want to focus. Don't be fancy and whatever. Like, I know people who have gotten down to like 50 grams of carbs, but it's like if you're trying to do all these fancy like Pinterest low calories, no, it's like majority of what you eat should be like veggies, fruits, and getting your protein, getting your necessary fats. But like so many people try to do all this like fancy shit and it's like, okay, but now you're going to feel hungry in like 20 minutes versus if you have like a lot of greens and stuff like that, those tend to digest slower, like especially like broccoli, for example. Not broccoli doesn't work for everybody, but a lot of times if you get a substantial amount of like greens in, your body will start to like feel more full, right? If that makes sense. But
yeah,
I mean, you could take, like strawberries or blueberries, and honestly, those won't really be that high in calories. It's just how much you eat of them, right? So, yeah, I would say like that. Always be on the lookout for anything that's you can find stuff like good foods that are like relatively low in carbs, relatively low in fats, or have none. Like if I want to get cereal, if it's in the plan, of course not right now, but like in the past, if I wanted cereal, I always try to find the one where I could get the most bang for my buck.
Yeah.
Based off of like calorie wise, like which one is the lowest amount of carbs, lowest amount of fat, but had the greatest serving size, right? So that's just my opinion. when it comes to that. And I would honestly say like, just always be self-aware of like, just because it says this doesn't mean it's, healthy. Right.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Nice. If somebody wanted to get coached by you, where would they go to find you?
So Instagram, my account or tag or whatever, is at Cobra _aesthetics_posing. Otherwise, my email, you can also contact me at is, of course, Cobra _aesthetics_pt@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And any client shows or anything that you're going to be a part of in this either later part of this year or upcoming?
So currently, I am, like I said, with the show that I'm sponsoring.
Yeah.
Actually, at the beginning of this next month is when they're having their posing seminar. So I'm flying back up to Minnesota.
Cool.
And then end of October, I'll be going there too.
Okay.
Because again, I am a sponsor, so it's kind of important to be there.
Yeah,
But like I would say, like right now, I just don't have the ability to like travel to multiple places over, like, so if one of my clients is competing in like Orlando or something like that, or close by, I'm gonna try to make it. But like more so next year, I would say I'll probably be able to, just because of like what I have going on now, what I'm trying to do, how busy I am. And everybody's always busy, but there's baby steps.
Yep.
Right. But like, for example, I have a few people competing at North Americans at the beginning of September. I have like 1 or 2 people competing this weekend. So yeah, we're staying busy.
Gotcha. Any plans to go to the Arnold Classic? And they're rescheduling that for March of next year, I want to say.
So I don't plan on going to the Arnold, probably never will.
Okay.
And that's just for certain reasons.
Okay.
You probably already know.
Yes, I do. I was curious if you're on the same boat. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Love him as a bodybuilder, but
yes. Actors. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah.
Olympia though, I am gonna try to go.
Okay.
So and the reason for that is so like my home gym, is it's Kissimmee Muscle Gym or Kissimmee Muscle Gym.
Yeah.
And that's literally like, I literally drive down our main road for like 20 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's close. And during the Olympia, there was a lot of big name people there. So
awesome. That'll be fun. I've never gone I've never gone to either of those. So, and wait, hold on. The Olympia is being held at that specific gym.
No, it's being held at the, I think it's the Orange County Convention Center or Orlando Convention.
Oh, okay. So it's super close to where you are then.
Yeah, like I could within 30 minutes of me.
Nice.
So yeah, it's within about 30 minutes, but like they'll either, a majority of people flock to either like if they're near there and they want to drive to Tampa, MI-40. But of course, most are going to be staying in Orlando. So, Kissimmee Muscle Gym or like the Iron Religion Gym that I talked about. So, yeah, one of those two, a lot of times are like, where a lot of people will come for that.
Right.
But of course, the Olympia just got moved to Orlando last year. So, yeah, I think that was a very, very good move, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I given the current circumstances, I think it's a great move. And how many people compete in the Olympia? Because I know it's the top of the top of the top, but is it still, several hundred?
So for example, like, of course, there might be a few less than what you would see at like maybe. So for example, as far as I remember, the Texas Cup last year, from at least what my coach had told me, had over like 850 competitors even during COVID.
Good Lord.
Right. So, I mean, you would think normally they're probably going to have anywhere from 2 to 3 call outs for any division. Of course, the open's going to be a little lower, right? Because you only have a certain amount of people who compete in the open. Not everybody wants to be, that big.
Right.
But like classic, men's physique, definitely a lot more people. Bikini, just
oh my
so
gosh,
much.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Like 8 classes deep.
Ooh, holy crap.
Yeah. And figure women's physique, wellness now. So
yeah,
it's just, it kind of depends on, I guess, how many people show up, how many people qualify. I'm sure they have limits, but yeah, it's crazy to see like how well it's still doing.
Yeah.
So.
Because I always assumed that was going to be just super elites, maybe a handful of people, but I guess it's like it sounds to me, I mean, it's still top of the top, but that's a lot of people, it seems.
Yeah. Well, like for example, even some pro shows, you'll have, potentially 25, 30 people.
Yeah.
Right. So, whether you make first, second, third, or you don't place. Right. So it can vary definitely based off of, how many people actually qualify. I'm sure, like, of course, I don't know everything as far as that goes, but I'm sure they have a certain amount of people that can only be qualified or, and whatnot. So.
Sure. I gotcha. Awesome. Well, hopefully we can catch up sometime if you're down there, either during the Olympia or some other event. But people need to check you out. Check with Jacob if you're interested in posing. You do virtual as well as in person, I'm assuming, as well, right?
So like I'm trying to get into doing in person.
Okay.
Can't right now due to circumstances, but I am basically 100% online.
Okay. Awesome.
So
that works out for most people anyway. So check him out. I really appreciate you coming on. I love talking about these different aspects of bodybuilding. So it really helped me understand the posing piece. Is really fascinating. So best of luck too. You're crushing it, and I'm sure you're going to do really well going forward. But give this guy a follow and check him out if you're interested in the posing side of bodybuilding. Thank you so much, Jacob, for coming on. I really appreciate you, man.
Likewise. Have a good day.
See you. You too. Bye. Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.